Hello and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm County Commissioner Shelly O'Quinn, and my guests today are Spokane Mayor David Condon and Spokane County United Way President Tim Henkel. Welcome to Spokane County Spotlight.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here, thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you joining me today, as I have heard that the two of you just came from a volunteer project today at Highland Park?
Yep, Highbridge Park. We were just there with probably 100 or so, 100 or so volunteers. A lot of Volunteers of America Vistas, senior volunteers. Today is the National Day of recognizing service, and particularly those involved with Volunteers of America. And so it really was a great opportunity, really, to come together and clean up Highbridge Park. And so we did that with citizens, and actually some of our other county mayors were there. Mayor Peterson and Spokane Valley both proclaimed it as National Service Day also.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm really happy to have both of you join me today, and I've been looking forward to this program because the United Way is such a fabulous organization in our community, where it brings together the needs of the community with the resources that we have available. And to be able to show off this partnership between the city of Spokane and the community and the United Way around Spokane Gives is just such a great opportunity. So why don't we start with, how did this all get started? Let's start with the history.
Well, it was a couple years ago that this got started. I actually was at a U.S. Conference of Mayors, and Mayor Greg Fisher is the mayor of Louisville, Kentucky, and he won the Most Compassionate City of America award, and he made a proclamation up there, or proclaimed that if any mayor wanted to take him on and be a more compassionate city, to do so. So I actually shot him an email, or I called him, and he and I had met before. And actually it was really the United Way that stepped up, and we took a team down to Louisville to see how they do it. And really, it's a great partnership. There it's called the Mayor's Give-A-Day. And here we really, and really with your leadership at the county, thought, you know what, we really want to do this county-wide. And so that started this a couple years ago.
And we've had a blast the entire time. In fact, really, it's really a true partnership because we work with the city, Empire Health Foundation, also AmeriCorps Vistas have been a part of it because it's provided us an additional resources internally to help manage all of this. And so when we went to Louisville, we learned, frankly, from our partners, United Way in Louisville, how they helped really serve as kind of the backbone of this, and with the information transfer using this Volunteer Spokane or this website that we have, volunteerspokane.org, where again you can post all the different opportunities and volunteers sign up and all those kinds of things. So it's been a great partnership in a lot of different ways.
You know, I think you probably see this as a county commissioner. You know, you get to visit so many amazing nonprofits, and you see the amazing work getting done, and typically you'll take a tour or you'll help out, and it always seems to come to a meeting at the end where the executive director or their program director goes, you know, Mayor, you know, we need really to be connected to volunteers better. We need more volunteers to do this work. And I really, you know, or people on the other side, people will say, hey, Mayor, you know, they'll stop me at the grocery store. You know, how do I get involved in the community? And short of maybe me telling them something that my family's interested in or something that I just saw, I really had nowhere to point them. And so that was another spot where volunteerspokane.org, it's not just during Spokane Gives Month, which we highlight this as during the month of April, but really year-round, that anybody can go to volunteerspokane.org. And again, it's countywide, you know, and not only that, but nonprofits, it doesn't cost a nonprofit to post what their needs are. So that's what's really exciting about it.
Well, this really is a great partnership that has actually grown quite a bit,
right,
because I believe when you started, this was a one-week venture. So explain to me how this turned into an entire month.
Well, we were having so much fun, we wanted to do it for an entire month. Well, I mean, the reality is April is National Service Month. It's proclaimed that by the president. We recognize across the country different service organizations and people giving back to their communities. And so when we first started, we said, well, let's do it for a week. And you'll see that over the last 2 years combined, we've had over 17,000 volunteers give over 50,000 hours of service.
Wow.
But we also heard back, and maybe Tim can talk about it, from some of our volunteers and organizations that said, you know, we couldn't quite do something just that week, Mayor, if it was a little bit bigger. And so we said, well, let's do it all month long. And so we have a lot, you know, people can volunteer on the weekends, but not during the week. And when we had it just a week long, you really only had the 2 weekends. Or people, you know, the other exciting thing is we have businesses now in our community, and they always have been been there and we have a great foundation. But businesses that really want to go out during the workday and maybe do it a team building exercise, and they might, a volunteer effort might need 9 to 10 people, and they can bring a business out.
So now that you've expanded this to a month, Tim, why don't you talk to us about some of the opportunities that are available? I know there's a lot.
Yeah.
Just give us a
Let me
snippet.
see. I think there's only 1,400 different events that are listed out on the site there. Actually, there's 113 events. There's 1,400 volunteers that have opportunities that are out there. There's 113 events. And it's really grown. Even just last year, there were just 95, and so there's now 113. Wow. There's also another 30 different events around Cleaning from the Core, which is 2 different weekends in the latter part of the month. And maybe even really to build off the mayor's point there is that there were so many things that were trying to happen, and frankly, it becomes a challenge for the agencies to make all of those things happen in a short period of time. So there was an advantage, frankly, in spreading it out, and really it was more the point of what are we trying to do over the course of the whole year, is to create that sort of momentum around it. And so it gave us an opportunity to look at how do we involve more people with all of that. So the point here is, again, there are all different kinds of projects that are out there. Most of them, frankly, are going to be a lot of service things like what we did this morning, pick up, clean up, those kinds of things. But really what it does is it leads people into what they can do year round, which is ultimately the point. And that's one of the things I want to give the mayor credit for, is that he recognized that the story that he told, that people ask him all the time. I get asked all the time, I'm sure you have the same thing happen. They want to do something, and they don't know where to go. So this was one of the ways for us to help make that happen. And so really to lift that up over the course of a week and now a month gives us that chance to tell that story over and over again and get more people involved in it and see that there is value in it. Kind of real quickly back to when we first started this, we had, get it right here, we had 600 individuals that were registered on the site. There's now 4,300 people that are registered users.
Registered
And
volunteers.
year round, so I mean, they're registering their volunteer efforts.
And we had 60 or 70 agencies. There's now 240 agencies that use this, again, as promoting their work, what they do. And that's really what we're trying to do with all of this. And so that's really one of the things that Mayor has lifted up. And I think the other thing I really want to give him credit for, frankly, is that he involves his family. They were out today, and they tell us a story about it. And the point in all of that is that they look forward to it. They tell their friends. Other people see that. And that's really what we're trying to do over and over again with all of this.
So for our listeners, they can go to SpokaneGives.org, and they can see a list of projects that include everything from cleaning
from the core, last year I did a project where I scrubbed, and there was just 2 of us there. So some are big projects, and I scrubbed the chairs of one of our soup kitchens in West Central, and they'd gotten dirty. So they wanted us to scrub them, so I sat there for a couple hours. My wife earlier that week had painted a room in one of their buildings. And so really there's projects with lots of people, there's projects singularly, there's some that work better for teams. And really Spokane Gives is this 1 month. But really it links you to volunteerspokane.org, which is year-round. The other really neat thing about it connects with social media, so people can post to Facebook directly from there. Businesses can also, you link yourself to a business, and so businesses can actually track all the volunteer efforts of their employees. And so that you really see a lot of businesses that have a social conscience that say, part of our culture is to give back to the community. And, and I've spoken to many different HR departments about this and to the company meetings. And they say, you know what, we're going to use volunteerspokane.org as their way to track volunteer efforts that their company may be giving, because they really want their employees to have that connection and give back to the community. So it really is a multifaceted tool.
Great. So it's an opportunity for individuals, teams, employers, employees, neighbors to gather around and come together and volunteer.
And so the site, you can go to the city site and then click onto the Spokane Gives tab, and it takes you to volunteerspokane.org. You can go to the United Way site and click on volunteer. It takes you to the volunteerspokane.org site. And on that site then, there's the Gives projects, but then there are the things that happen year-round. So the whole point in all of this is we've tried to make it as easy as possible to get people to figure it out. Okay, I can't remember which website was it, and you'll go to one or the other ones and you can get there.
Great. So before we go away from opportunities, I do want you, Mayor, to take a minute to talk about Clean from the Core and invite folks to join you in that.
Absolutely. You know, another thing that we noticed when we were down in Louisville, there's a little thing called the Kentucky Derby down there. And what's interesting is they get their community ready for that. And the same thing here, we get ready for our festival, Lilac Festival, that starts with Bloomsday, the largest road race in the country, and ends with the largest torchlight parade in honor of our military. And we really want to get our community ready. And so for the last couple of years, actually talking about my kids, this morning when I told them that we were going to do this, they said, well, Daddy, aren't we going to clean the carousel? The last 2 years, they have polished the brass at the carousel. And it really is to get our community ready. We'll have, you know, hundreds of thousands of visitors over a few weeks. And we want to put our best foot forward. So traditionally we've had, you know, 200 to 300 volunteers in the downtown, literally sweeping the streets, planting flowers, looking at our gateways. We're going to really focus that in the East Sprague corridor this year, because this is the year that the city is really focusing over $70 million of infrastructure dollars there. One of our charter schools is in that area. And so we really said, let's partner with the neighborhoods and one of our business districts, in this case, the East Sprague Business Association, ESBA, and we're focusing in that area. So we'll still do all the stuff in downtown, but in the latter part of the month, if you go to Spokane Gives, you'll see a lot of opportunities to help us out in that area.
That's great. So some of the numbers, Tim, can you share with us some of the fantastic results that you've had from this event over the last several years? I know you've mentioned the number of...
Yeah, let me just make sure I don't mix them up here. Last year we had 49,000, almost 50,000 hours of service that were, and this was a week that happened a year ago. There was 107, almost 108,000 pounds of food that was packaged, and again, that food is obviously being delivered over the course of the year. I mentioned earlier there's 95 projects. We've got more than that this year. There were 10,000 volunteers that were involved in all of this. Here's an interesting one here for you for the county. There was 2,300 seedlings planted throughout the county. So again,
That's
great
great
value for all of us ultimately. 57 different organizations were involved in it. And I think the other kind of number to kick around is that, again, just last year, assigning a dollar value, which is a little over $20 in terms of the amount of time per hour. It was over almost $1.1 million in $1.1 million.
A value of if we were going to.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at, I mean, we talk about the seedlings. This is another great project, the Forest Spokane initiative. But a lot of those seedlings were actually up on the northern part of our county along the now north-south corridor. There were some areas, and we had, you know, big Boy Scout troops out there, and also our great partners at Fairchild. Here we talk about the Lilac Festival, of honoring them. And here they are connected back to our community, where hundreds of them came out with their families to plant seedlings. You know, the other great groups that come out, you know, your service organizations that are looking to you know, really highlight and give back to our community. This gives them that opportunity as the nonprofits. And any of our nonprofit viewers, if they haven't heard of this, they really have a big place in this. They can put their profile there. They don't have to, you know, there's no charge for it. It really is. And if they have other needs too, sometimes it's not volunteers. Sometimes they need a piece of equipment or something, and those needs can be posted also.
Right.
So do you have a goal for this year?
Our goal is to increase it by about 20%.
That's aggressive.
You know,
That's
it
great.
is. And also, we partnered with the universities last year, and it's fun. And at our kickoff this year, just last week, we had the ASB president from Whitworth, and they're committed to this. You know, so you have Whitworth and Gonzaga and WSU and the community colleges. And it just is a great opportunity. You know, WSU, because it's their health sciences, they're going to run some clinic operations with their pharmacies and their nursing students. Whitworth gives back in a huge way, in different ways, and so to have them there. But it's just fun for all of them to come together. And you know, as we get done with March Madness, we can go into April Service Month, and so it's been a lot of fun to work with those student bodies, because believe it or not, a lot of them come from other parts of the country, and they're giving back in such a major way in our community.
To our communities. Oh, and I also believe we have a picture of you volunteering at SCRAPS, our
Yes,
Spokane Regional Animal Control. So thank you, Mayor, for giving back to Spokane County.
You know, and that's it. It's all throughout the county.
All organizations. So we've talked a lot about opportunities and numbers, but let's put a personal side to this. I'm sure both of you have stories that you would like to share with us to
Sure.
put some faces to what we're talking about.
Yeah. Actually, it was one where I ran into a woman in doing a work project, and she was, I think they were painting, cleaning up in one of the rooms in an after-school program. So the kids were there. And, there's a lot of people that things get done and somebody's looking for somebody to do. So the woman says, or actually one of the staff said, hey, would you like to help one of the kids in a reading program that we have? She went in and did that and started reading with the kids and that sort of thing. I ran into her a while later and at another event, she said to me, you know what, once I did that is that then I signed up and I'm now mentoring, or I'm actually reading in school once a week, spending an hour and just doing that because she didn't think it was something that she could do before. So that's the kind of thing that happens out of this, and it's really what we're looking for. And then I'll give the mayor another story. The first year that we did this, where he was doing a project where they were doing some assembly, I think, at a school, and you had a conversation with a lady that came to the event. So.
And I think this was a case where I was in a school in one of our challenged neighborhoods, and they were getting ready for reading packets and math packets for the summer, and we were in a big assembly line, and I apparently got there a little late, which happens from time to time when you're the mayor, but so they put me into the assembly line, and after I got the routine, I think I was the pencil guy, I was putting the pencils in the bag. I looked over at the woman next to me, and she had another job, and I said, so how'd you hear about this? And she goes, well, the mayor told us to do it. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, there's a sign on the side of the bus. And I said, oh, okay. And I asked her, well, you must really like kids. How do oh, not really. And I'm like, oh, well, then why are you here at a school? And she said, well, you know what? I got onto this website, and she goes, I'd never really been in the school, and I found out this opportunity right in my neighborhood. And so she'd walked that day to this project, and there might have been, I don't know, 5, 7 of us there. And so when I introduced myself as the mayor, she was a little flabbergasted. She didn't really believe me at first, but it really is stories like that with an individual or the major, these big impacts. I was speaking to a gentleman at a community event here recently, and talked very similarly, actually, and it was with the faith-based community. I'd met with some 100 faith leaders and really challenged them to give back. And he said, Mayor, from the time that you did that, we came together, and they've adopted a grade school that's near their church, and they too, and that's a huge need in our community as mentors. And what Tim just talked about is our real goal is really year-long and really lifetime volunteer folks. And if this 1 month period spurs somebody's interest. And it really, to really be a lifelong giver. I was with one of our business executives in the Meals on Wheels program, and he, I went out just 2 weeks ago, and he does that, on a routine basis, and really felt like that was necessary for him to give back. And as I sat there and drove all over the city, and that there's these people in need, and it just gives so much back to those that are also giving, not only the receiver, but also the person that's giving of their time or their talent or their treasure.
We have a very generous community.
Yes.
Switching gears on us a little, you may also know, or you may not know, that April is also Spokane County Government Month. It's actually National County Government Month, so it's something that we celebrate around the nation, and it's a great opportunity for us to be able to partner with you. And also, I believe you have themes this month, as you have given each week an opportunity for people to get involved. And the last week of the month is Government Month.
It is, or Government Week. It is. We've really focused, faith-based and business and government and business and education is the fourth. Right. And because of the Saturdays and kind of focused the efforts, there really is opportunities all month long. But as we look at it, and that's why later on this month, why the city's kind of taking the lead for the city. But really, as this program continues this month and people see us, there really is more opportunities. There's really, as people get onto the site, even this weekend, weekend. And that's even another great thing how this site works is in today's world, I know for mine, it's pretty difficult to schedule out a week or 2 weeks. What's nice about this is if you notice that you have some free time this weekend, it's you just go to the site and you see these opportunities that are there, and so it doesn't have to be, you're not signing up for every Thursday. You're not signing up. Now, don't get me wrong, nonprofits would love that. But if you're somebody that can't quite schedule their time like that, or have shift work, this really gives you that opportunity to give back.
Right. And we do have a great opportunity between Spokane County and the city of Spokane, because we are pleased to announce a partnership for that week between county and city employees and others if they choose to join us. And that's our Kids in Crisis Toy Drive. And it's an opportunity for us to collect toys for children in crisis. Then they'll be distributed through law enforcement, through the YWCA, through Vanessa Behan Crisis Center and other organizations that are helping kids in crisis. So this is going to be a great opportunity for our county employees and city employees to get involved in a way of giving back. So it doesn't always have to be going out and, as you mentioned earlier, going out and actually digging with a shovel. It can also be providing that piece of necessary equipment, or in this case, providing toys for children in crisis. So
and I think that's just an amazing partnership. I mean, you talk about both through the Vanessa Behan Crisis Nursery. Last year, I took my cabinet and we cleaned their kitchen. They needed a spring cleaning, but also the YWCA and the YMCA, but the Family Justice Center, which really builds off a partnership that we have with the county. But then there was this need of what can you bring some small piece of comfort to a child that's going through a very difficult situation. And so it's great to have city and county employees that see that need and really to be able to provide that to them, so law enforcement or others involved in a crisis can bring a little bit of comfort to somebody.
And those in the community who wish to join us can go to either the city or county website and find opportunities to be able to give those toys as well.
Great.
So in the last 5 minutes, let's take a minute, just some time to talk about, it takes time to develop a compassionate community. As we've recognized, this isn't just a 1-year project or a 1-month project or even a 3-year project, correct? Right. And this is really about long-term. So what's the long-term vision?
Well, I think as we have an amazing foundation, so some of it is just to highlight that amazing generosity. And as we talk about being a compassionate community, it really is in 3 areas: capacity for our nonprofits and working with them where they see those needs, and we have great partnerships going on there, and really education and training for our nonprofits. The second piece is highlighting those that give philanthropically, and so we have the Philanthropic Awards, the Emerging Leader Program through the United Way, that young professionals that are learning to give back both financially and of their time, and really capacity in our volunteer base. And so the long-term vision is really to do just that, to be the most compassionate city in America, to take on Louisville, or really to take on ourselves and challenge ourselves that there are many needs in our community, and by coming together through Spokane Gives and volunteerspokane.org, it's where you meet your passion with the need in our community. And for some, that may be financial, that you can give to one of these nonprofits. It may be of your time and your talent. But to be able to do that together, engage in our community, I believe that's how you become the most compassionate, where we have citizens together helping each other out. And you saw it most recently here with the windstorm. You knocked out, and so when you have that type of basis, when we saw the windstorm, and I saw hundreds of volunteers, with the governor of our state and with leadership out of the county and the city, literally going door to door to some 200,000+ people without power. That's the compassion that really, in a time of crisis, that's the foundation that brings you out of it.
We are definitely a community that is blessed with a lot of talent, and I would say resources through the volunteers that come to us. Yeah. Tim, is there anything that you would like to add before we wrap up today?
The other thing I'd really add to what the mayor shared there is that really what I think the community does well is looking at how do we align all of these efforts. And the example that you just provided with the kids in crisis thing, again, we're trying to figure out in this community, how do you reach that child, that parent in that time of crisis, shelter them, and then put them on track towards long-term change. And that's really, I think, the thing that all of us are trying to do together. We see that as the role for us to play. How do we get volunteers to help in that space? How do we get resources into that? And how do we then say, okay, in another 6 months and another year from now, this is different. These kinds of things are not happening or happening less often. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to see as a community. We're going to respond to a crisis, but we also need to recognize that we've got a long-term challenge that's always there. And so how do we align the resources that we have, people, time, and money, then towards shared goals to create long-term change?
That's great. So we just have just about 2 minutes left. So want to make sure that we give either of you an opportunity if you have one final story that you want to share, or any final comments as we celebrate this fantastic month.
You know, there is a huge amount of generosity and compassion in our community, but I do challenge each and every one of us, whether it's an hour a month or whether it's a small financial contribution, whatever it is, that's what this is about, is how do we give of ourselves to our community. And to be out there, you know, today with young men and women that from across our country. I met a gentleman from Baltimore today, another one from Michigan, that are, you know, committing themselves to Volunteers for America, and they're here in our community. We need to do that same thing in our own neighborhoods. We need to give back.
That's great. Well, I've enjoyed our discussion today about the Spokane County United Way and about Spokane Gives and the opportunities that we have for those in our community who wish to volunteer. So I would encourage our viewing audience today to get involved this month. And if they would like more information, they can find it on the Spokane Gives website or the city or county website and the United Way website. Right. And I would encourage you, if you're interested, to give to the Toy Drive in Crisis. So thank you both, Mayor Condon, Tim Henkel, for joining me today. I'm County Commissioner Shelly O'Quinn, and I thank you for joining us for Spokane County Spotlight.